tried to save Florida with Prime Tim Tebow. First game of the season was against Fresno State, and Tim Tebow would already show off his wheels on this rushing touchdown, and on the next drive he would unfortunately end up throwing an interception. Then he would throw a touchdown on the 1 yard line, and then he would throw yet another touchdown on this play, which would end up icing the game, which meant we won our first game of the season. We will start off hot in the next game against Eastern Carolina, as our running back took it all the way to the house from our own territory, which meant we took the early lead. Then Tim Tebow would end up throwing an interception, but fortunately he was able to bounce back with this scrambling touchdown, but late in the fourth quarter we weren't able to convert this fourth down, which meant we lost the game against Eastern Carolina. The next game would be against number 7 Alabama, and we would start off by scoring a touchdown on this screen pass. Then we would tie the game on this pass, and we would also take the lead just before halftime on yet another passing touchdown, and just before the 2-minute warning we would score this touchdown, which gave us the lead, which ultimately resulted in a win against number 7 in the nation, Alabama. In our next game against Vanderbilt, we would take the early lead with this passing touchdown, but then unfortunately just before halftime we would throw this pick 6. Then we would tie the game on this QB draw, and just before the game ended we would throw this passing touchdown, which meant we won yet another game. Against Miami of Ohio, we would take the early lead with this scrambling touchdown, and we would take the lead yet again with another rushing touchdown by Tim Tebow, which meant we ended up winning this game 21-7. Against Arkansas, we would yet again end up taking an early lead with this passing touchdown. Then we would extend it even further with a field goal, and then Tim Tebow would run it in all the way from the 27-yard line on a QB draw play, which ultimately iced the game, which meant we won yet another game. Our game against the Sooners didn't start off great. We would throw 2 back-to-back interceptions, but just before halftime we would cut the lead down to 4. Unfortunately, this wasn't enough, as we still ended up losing the game 20-17. Against Missouri, we would take the early lead with this passing touchdown, and then we would take the lead yet again with this field goal, and then we would extend it even further with another passing touchdown. Late in the fourth quarter, we would ice the game with this rushing touchdown, which meant we won the game 27-16. We would start off hot against Georgia with this rushing touchdown, and we would extend upon our lead with this passing touchdown, and we would keep on going as we scored yet another passing touchdown on this amazing pass and catch. We would extend our lead even further with this rushing touchdown, which also iced the game, which meant we won 28-17. Against Auburn, we would start off badly with this interception, but late in the second quarter we would end up extending our lead to 14-6, and then we would score yet again late in the third quarter. Then we would score back-to-back touchdowns, first with this rushing touchdown and then with this passing touchdown in the fourth quarter, which meant we ended up winning the game 38-28. We would take the early lead against South Carolina with this field goal, and then we would score 3 consecutive passing touchdowns, first on this RPO play, and then on this RPO play, and then on this deep bomb to our receiver on the left side, which meant we ended up winning the game 38-6. Our next game would be against our rivals Florida State, and we would take the early lead with this QB draw play by Tim Tebow. Then we would tie up the game on this passing touchdown, which saw the game go to 14-14, and then we would take the lead on this RPO play. We would extend upon this lead in the fourth quarter, but late in the fourth quarter with the game set at 27-27, we would throw this unfortunate interception, which saw the game go to overtime, where we would take the early lead after this rushing play by Tim Tebow. Our defense would ultimately stop their offense, which meant we won the game. This saw us qualify for the SEC championship game, where we were going to face the Sooners. After going down 14-0 early on, we would respond by rushing it into the end zone on this rushing play, and then we would take the lead late in the third quarter with this passing touchdown, which initially was an incompletion, but we challenged the play, which gave us the touchdown. Then in the fourth quarter, Tim Tebow would throw this interception. This meant we went into overtime, where we would take the early lead, but on the next drive we would throw an interception, which meant the Sooners won the SEC championship game. Fortunately, we still qualified for the college football playoff, this time against Oregon, and the game was a snow game. We went down 14-0 early on, but fortunately we scored this touchdown. But just before halftime we missed this field goal. But late in the fourth quarter we ended up scoring a touchdown to cut down the deficit to 7, but they would end up scoring, and we would try to score yet another touchdown, but unfortunately threw this pick 6. This meant we lost the game 35-14. All in all, a decent season for Tim Tebow. He had a decent amount of yards and also touchdown. He also had a decent amount of interceptions. And on the ground, he was also great. Not that many yards, but still he had a lot of touchdowns. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and bye!